Hello, everyone. I was thinking last night, and I'm looking at all these leaders, politicians, scrambling around, trying to fix this and fix that, and write legislation for this and legislation for that, and saying that they're going to go in there and they're going to get rid of this and going to get rid of that. And, and if you know history, they've been saying that for years. Okay. But I could, but what got me to thinking is all these problems that they claim they fix always seem to create another problem. And I have the question, how do the problem fix the problem? Because you have to remember how the problem started when they landed on this land and got the big head and think they is God Almighty. They were so big headed that they began to think that no, they are God's chosen people. Because they was able to come over here and steal this land and build it up to be so special, even though over 130,000 people are murdered every year. People are still poor as hell, still working in terrible conditions, and so on and so on. And people have the audacity to say, "Oh yeah, it's a blue state." These people are so confused and so out of touch of reality that it don't matter who's in the mayor's office or who's in the Oval Office. They still are being hurt by the government. And now it's all around. It's just everywhere. All these politicians are always getting busted for this and busted for that, um, and they can't tell nobody that they don't know what's going on. They just use it for leverage, or whenever they ready to get rid of you, they'll bring it up. The same way that you do at your job. If they want to get rid of you, they just sit back and wait for you to do something you've been doing. Uh huh. You know, you heard that saying, "Oh, I know I'm on my way out because they cut my hours. They're not calling me in like they used to." So, and the government, remember, um, when Roosevelt started the big deal and he started all these entitlements for people to help. Well, these programs like Social Security and 8 hours and then they started welfare and food stamps and then benefits and unions and all this. Well, why did they need all that? Because of corporate greed. Because they was misusing people. They was actually had 10-year-olds and 8-year-olds in minds in working. And they had to do and work it and they had to work in the fields. So why do they have to do that? Because of corporate greed. And that caused problems. They caused people to have to build and live in ghettos and places. And the people couldn't even take care of their own homes and their own community because they were so busy working for these corporations that they couldn't keep their own place clean, couldn't feed their kids properly. That created problems down to this day. And they're working for people that really are criminals, gangsters, and then the ones that was trying to start business and stuff, they were being leaned on by the gangsters or by the corporations, the big ones. And they always coming up with these old entitlements and all these government programs to help solve the problem they started. You know, kids in the same way now, you could go down any, no, not any neighborhood, but you can go down some neighborhoods and you wonder why do it look like a war zone? Why is there so much garbage? Well, it wasn't like that before. It started getting like that when these communities had to welcome and solicit these corner stores. And you know what corner stores is? A bunch of wrapped up paper with death in them. And they go in there, they get this stuff, they come out, put it in their mouth, throw the paper down on the ground. And they're not making these people clean it up. They're not making these people live in these homes clean it up. They pay taxes, even though they renting. The landlords are paying the taxes. Why these taxes are not being utilized to clean up these neighborhoods? I wonder about that. But see, we too busy wondering about what Trump doing or Biden doing, and we need to start concentrating more on what our state um, leaders are doing, because they ain't doing. That's why they like all this stuff going on in the White House, because it's taking all the heat away from now. And you hear all the time about the Constitution, and you hear about all this freedom and all this stuff, but they're not implementing none of these guidelines, and that's causing more problems for people. They're using rules, they're using favoritism, they're using all these different amendments. They're going to change this amendment. Changing one amendment is not going to fix it. You're going to have to change them all. Tell you the truth. Okay? Why they didn't have an amendment in there that the president can't be a criminal or a racist or talk with a fourth grade education? Why that wasn't in the amendment? Why that wasn't in the Constitution? Because it's a constitution of lies. That's why. And it's a constitution that's drenched in blood. That's what's causing over 130,000 murders a year since they've been counting. Who's next? You, me. But they don't want to have no gun control because the NRA is running. They got so much money. Why do they got so much money? Because they got their hands and their feet in the military. They're getting all that money. And you have to wonder why. When you hear like Joe Biden talking about, he's going to send over $1 billion worth of weapons, all that money that they done spent on that war between Ukraine and Russia, that's a lot of money. Where that money coming from? Most of it, what I've heard, is a lot of it's coming from drug deals. Oh wow. And tobacco and alcohol. And our taxes. But they want to be stingy about giving people welfare or food stamps, the ones that need it. And in our neighborhoods, we don't have no gun control. We don't have no uh, proper health care and mental care. And a lot of these families, they have to work long hours. They have to work hard. And they also have to be in a toxic workplace. These kids and these grown people now, they are working in the worst, the conditions that people in the 30s and 40s was working in is almost like the work conditions that they working in. But the only difference is the people that they working with, not the conditions. Now, how in the world you gonna know how to fix my problem if you don't even know me? You don't even know anybody that know me. You don't come in the area when all this is going on because you don't want to get shot. Okay? When was the last time we said are some of these politicians, mayors, secretaries, all these people, are they going around the neighborhood at 12, 1 o'clock at night, 11 and 12, 1 o'clock at night when all this craziness happened? No. And how can you know how to fix the problem if you don't even know what the problem is? You think you do because of your little bureaucracy that claim they around here seeing what's going on. You're not really seeing what's going on. And you know what? We could fix the problems way better and faster if we had the tools to fix it. But instead, you think you can only fix it. You who made the problem. The problem is in your blood because you came from the problem. The problem started when you landed on this land and went out with your mass destruction weapons and stole people and eliminated people so you could get rich and have all the power you want. And before I leave, I'm just going to say a little bit about the problem that we are facing now. I don't even really want to even call it a problem. It's just a continuation of the Constitution and laws that are mandated on this land. And the reason why we're going through this is because people did not want to ask themselves serious questions. They didn't want to look in the mirror and say, can this man fix my problems? Or can this woman fix my problems? Do they know anybody that even have problems like me? They didn't ask them that question because they know if they did, they didn't want to hear the answer. And I'm going to say this before I leave. Like I said, anybody that supported America is a selfish person that all they cared about themselves. They didn't care about the damage that would be done to innocent women and kids. Because when I hear that a black man didn't want Kamala Harris to be the president because she was a woman and because they don't know much about her. And I'm like, but you'd rather have uh, a racist fourth grade education uh, criminal person to leave the country that has no idea how people work. Only thing he know is how money works. Yeah. And that is true because I know a person like that. I grew up with a person like that. A person like that raised me. Didn't have no indication of how people worked together and love one another. All he cared about was how money worked. Money get me this, money get me that. And I love what my money got for me. That's all. And that's all he cared about. And that's all he gonna ever care about. So we need to look in the mirror. We need to evaluate our problems and start working on who can give us the tools to fix our problems. And believe me, we have many. And it all starts with the family. The family is under attack. The kids' education is under attack. And we cannot let our kids go back to the days that 80% of the people in this country was illiterate, working 12, 14 hours for little pay. And I'm in with this. When I was looking at a documentary, and these people were, it was a documentary about Carnegie, how he got rich and all this stuff. And these people that was working in his factory was working for uh, like $1 something a day. And they said they had to because that's the only way they could feed their family. Nobody on this planet should have ever agreed for that little pay for that hard work. But that's how they do you. And we as people did not have the strength or the mindset to help one another. Because I'm telling you, I would rather have lived out in the woods, in a in a cabin with candles, eating berries, than work for somebody for $1 a day. And a lot of families don't know how to help one another, stick with one another, and protest, and never, never. But thank you for listening. Uh, start reading, looking at educational films and reading educational film. Ask questions. We have to do better as a people and start teaching these kids more than what they're teaching them in school. Because we know the problem. We have to fix the problem. Thanks for listening.